Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're getting into something a lot of people bump into when they first look at making money online. It's this idea of the big promise.
Hmm.
And specifically, we're looking at the claims made by a platform called MyLeadGenSecret, or MLGS.
Exactly. Yeah, it's one of those things that pops up because, it promises to solve that fundamental problem, right? Finding customers, finding leads.
Totally.
And our source for this, a post by Peter from May 9th, 2025, it really lays out what MLGS claims. The, the core promise is basically that even if you're starting from zero, like no list, no product, no experience,
Right.
you can start making money because they give you this stream of leads every day.
hmm
And it's mostly automated, sort of like autopilot lead generation.
Okay, autopilot leads. That sounds, well, let's be honest, it sounds pretty appealing, but maybe a bit too good to be true for some.
Yeah, you definitely get that initial reaction.
Kind of little voice saying, really? Is it actually that easy? And well, that's kind of what we want to unpack today, isn't it?
Precisely. This deep dive, using Peter's research, is all about looking at that big promise and figuring out, how believable is it based on what he found.
And he's looked at it from a bunch of angles, right? Like 28 different perspectives in his project. Today we're focusing just on this core promise.
Yeah, and Peter does make a point of saying, results always vary in business. That's just how it is. But the actual promise MLGS makes, when you break it down,
hmm
it has some interesting parts worth looking at closely.
Okay, so let's do that. Let's break down this big promise. The first bit seems to be this idea of never-ending leads.
Mm-hmm.
Peter describes it as getting, what, 100 or even more fresh leads daily, and it just happens, like
Yeah.
automatically.
Yeah, that's the picture he paints. He uses phrases like a land flowing with leads or a faucet of potential customers. The idea is your list just keeps growing without you having to, constantly hunt for people.
100+ leads a day. I mean, that's a lot, especially if you're just starting out.
It really is. And the automation aspect is clearly a huge selling point. It tackles that first big hurdle, finding an audience. It basically says, we'll handle the list building for you.
Okay, so you get the leads. What's next? The second part is predictable sales or income.
Right. Predictable income from those leads. The logic they present, and Peter explains this, is basically statistical. If you have a steady flow of potential customers,
Uh-huh.
a certain percentage are likely to buy something eventually. Peter gives this example. Maybe just 1 out of every 100 leads converts, which he suggests isn't unreasonable for a decent offer.
So 100 leads a day. That could mean maybe one sale a day, roughly.
That's the kind of math they suggest. It's about volume. You're not expecting miracles from each lead, but with enough leads coming in consistently, the probability of making regular sales goes way up,
It becomes a numbers game then.
pretty much. And Peter points out it's scalable. Get 200 leads a day, maybe 2 sales,
Mm-hmm.
or run multiple accounts. You see where it's going. The focus shifts from finding customers to managing the potential from this steady stream.
Gotcha. And then there's a third piece to this promise, something about passive income.
Yeah, passive or residual income. This ties into their affiliate program. So
Yeah.
the idea is, besides earning from sales you make to the leads they give you,
Okay.
you can also earn ongoing commissions if you refer other people to MLGS.
Yeah.
So if someone signs up through your link, you get paid potentially month after month.
Ah, okay. So it's kind of a dual approach. Make money from the leads and make money by promoting the system itself.
Exactly. It adds another layer. The long-term picture they paint is building towards, financial freedom, or at least a solid side income, all using and sharing this one platform.
Yeah.
It's a common model online, that affiliate component.
Right. Okay, so we've got the leads flowing in, the potential for sales from those leads, and this extra affiliate income stream. That's the big promise in a nutshell.
That's the core of it, yeah.
But like we said, it can sound, well, pretty amazing, maybe too amazing.
So the really interesting part of Peter's research, and what we should dig into now,
Yeah.
is how do you make that sound believable? Yeah, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? How do you take this big, bold claim and make it feel, grounded, achievable?
Especially to someone who's maybe been burned before or is just naturally cautious.
Exactly. And Peter actually outlines several specific strategies that MLGS users, or the platform itself, seem to employ to try and bridge that gap.
Okay, let's hear them. What's the first one?
The first one Peter flags is using numbers, using what he calls math logic.
Ah, okay. Like that 1% conversion example we talked about.
Precisely. Instead of just saying, you'll make money, they show you how it could happen.
Yeah.
100 leads, 1% conversion, that's potentially one sale, about 200 leads, or multiple accounts. It gives you a framework.
It makes it feel less like wishful thinking and more like, well, math.
Exactly. Peter mentions this MLGS formula push. More leads in your funnel equals more sales. It's simple, direct, and based on volume. It tries to make the outcome seem almost inevitable if the numbers are there.
Okay, relying on logic and numbers, that
Yeah.
makes sense. What else?
The next big one is showing real examples. Social proof, basically.
Testimonials, success stories.
Yeah, but Peter emphasizes needing more than just vague claims. He points to the source mentioning specific examples like member A, who was apparently emailing 36,000 leads daily after 6 months and getting crazy results.
36,000, wow.
Yeah, and another example, member B, making $200 in a single day. He even mentions people supposedly earning 5 figures just from MLGS.
So showing that other people are actually doing it.
Right, but Peter stresses the need to be truthful and specific, like, in 2024, this person achieved this result. It adds weight compared to just saying people make money. It shows it's possible, even if, not guaranteed for everyone. It does make you wonder, though, how typical are those really big results?
Good question. Okay, so numbers, real examples. What's the third strategy?
This one's interesting, acknowledging effort. Basically, being honest that it's not push-button magic.
Managing expectations.
Exactly. Peter suggests phrasing like, look, MLGS gives you the leads. That's the key ingredient, but you still have to do the work, which is mainly emailing them consistently. He even calls the daily emailing requirement a tiny catch.
So admitting it takes work actually makes it more believable.
It seems counterintuitive, but yeah, it tackles that get-rich-quick skepticism head-on. By saying, this requires consistent effort, it sounds less like hype and more like a real tool that works if you use it properly. It builds trust through transparency.
Okay, so it's not effortless. You have to email daily. That makes the potential payoff seem more earned, maybe?
I think that's the idea. It positions it as a partnership. They provide the leads, you provide the action. It does raise the question, though, how much support or guidance do they give you on how to email effectively?
True. Okay, what else does Peter mention for building belief?
Leveraging authority, or maybe more accurately, longevity, pointing out that MLGS isn't brand new. Peter notes it's been around since 2019. They've apparently delivered millions, maybe billions of leads by now, paid out lots in commissions.
So the fact that it's lasted a while suggests it's not just a flash in the pan.
That's the implication.
Yeah.
It suggests a proven model, something with a track record, rather than some untested scheme that just popped up. History builds a certain kind of trust. It implies stability. Makes you wonder how they've adapted over those years, too.
Okay, longevity helps. What's next on the list?
Painting a vivid before and after picture.
Storytelling.
Yeah, basically tapping into the pain points. Peter talks about contrasting the struggle, the before picture of desperately trying to find traffic or leads.
Which is where most beginners are stuck.
Exactly. And contrasting that with the after picture, using MLGS, suddenly you have this overflow of leads, and your main problem shifts from finding leads to just managing your emails and potential sales.
So you address the big problem they know they have and position MLGS as the solution that changes the game.
Right. It shifts the narrative from scarcity to abundance, as Peter puts it. It makes the promise feel relevant because it directly addresses that core frustration. Makes you think, though, are people really ready for that shift? Do they have the skills to handle that abundance?
Good point. Are there more strategies?
Just a couple more key ones Peter mentions. One is using conditional promises.
Meaning, like, if you do this, then maybe that.
Pretty much. Using phrases like, if when you do X, then Y is more likely. For example, Peter suggests framing it like, if you commit to emailing consistently every day, then you significantly increase your chances of building a real income over, say, 6 to 12 months.
So it's not a guarantee. It depends on your actions.
Exactly. Peter notes this feels more earnest and responsible than making absolute promises. It connects the outcome directly to the user's effort, which feels more grounded and less like hype. Your success depends, partly, on you showing up. Again, it prompts that question about guidance. What is effective daily emailing in their system?
Okay, conditional promises. Makes sense. And the last one.
The last main one is really direct. Addressing the believability gap. Proactively.
Just calling it out.
Yeah. Basically acknowledging up front that, hey, this might sound unbelievable. And then immediately following up with, but let me show you why it's actually plausible. And then deploying all those other points we just discussed.
Like the math, the examples, the longevity.
Exactly. You anticipate the skepticism, you voice it yourself, and then you systematically address it with your evidence and reasoning. It's a way of saying, we get why you might be doubtful, but here's the case for it. It builds rapport by acknowledging their perspective.
Okay, wow. So it's quite a multifaceted approach to making this big promise stick.
It really is. Based on Peter's analysis, it's not just one thing. It's this combination of using logic and numbers,
Right, the math.
backing it up with real specific examples, even if anecdotal,
A success story.
being upfront about the required effort, the daily emailing,
The tiny catch.
pointing to the platform's history, painting that relatable before and after picture, using careful conditional language, and just tackling the skepticism head on.
So wrapping it all up, the key takeaway from Peter's research seems to be that making a big promise believable isn't about hype, it's about evidence and reason.
Pretty much. Yeah. Solid evidence combined with clear reasoning. Showing a straightforward formula, more leads, can equal more sales, sharing real stories, and being honest about what you, the user, need to bring to the table, which is consistency and some patience.
It's about showing a clear path, supported by proof, from the promise to the potential reality.
Exactly.
This has been really fascinating, digging into how these big online marketing claims are constructed and made to feel believable. It leaves you with a pretty important question, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
When you're looking at these kinds of opportunities online, what does believable actually mean to you? And how do you balance that potential they present with the effort they inevitably require? Something definitely worth thinking about.